Thank you for joining us. This is Health Your Own Way podcast, and I am your host, Mo Atkins. Welcome to another episode. Today we're going to be talking about the journey to Kamili Yoga. Please allow me to introduce my guest, Eternity. She's a certified yoga teacher, second degree Reiki practitioner, a certified life coach, has a bachelor degree in psychology and sociology, and a creator of Kamili Yoga. I said a lot, Eternity. So I know I said a lot. Okay. And welcome to the episode. Anything you want to add? How are you doing? Please feel free to say something. Introduce yourself.
Oh, I'm doing fantastic. So, no, all of that was spot on. I am a yoga wellness educator. I'm certified in two systems of yoga, Hatha yoga, as well as Kemetic yoga. And as you said, the system that I created is Kamili Yoga. And so I look forward to talking to you more about that.
So then let's just start with it. What is Kamili Yoga?
So Kamili Yoga is a modern system that brings Pan-African knowledge to Black wellness.
Okay.
It is a system of yoga that allows Black descendants of the African continent and diaspora to reconnect to their ancestral roots through the lens of yoga. It's a modern system. So I created this system as guided by spirit, but this system is something that came about and was officially launched in 2020 in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic that we're still going through. So I make it very clear when I talk about Kamili Yoga is that it is based on, you can think of it as being based on indigenous and even ancestral practices.
Okay.
But it's not to say that, yes, there was a system called Kamili Yoga at some point in ancient Africa, and when we, lost connection to that, and here's the revitalization. No, that is not what it is. Instead, it is a modern system that, again, is based on ancestral indigenous customs of the motherland as well as the diaspora. So Afro-Latin Black people, folks in the Caribbean, Black folks in Europe, of course, myself being in America or the US of A. So African-American traditions as well. Everything that brings beauty and the power of Black being. That is what Kamili Yoga is about connecting to.
You said so much beautiful things. I felt like you took me to a story and came back. And then at first, you know what? I get what you're saying. At first, you're basically saying that this is not a repurposes of what was in the past. It's more of a combination of who we are now. Yes. And different experience of different cultures. When you said, yes. And then you bring it as one and coming and even including indigenous people as well. Yes. So I appreciate it. I understood. I know you thought I was with you. I stood with you. I understood. So I think it was clear to mention that, to the audience or whoever's listening itself is that, again, this is something that's born on what we're experiencing, what we've dealt with, nothing from the ancestry, taking some of it, but not, I get it. And I think most people would be asking you, like, there's so many forms of yoga out there. Mm-hmm. Why did you feel like there was actually a need to create one? And I think before you answer, I think the obvious is maybe because of our Blackness, but even then, a lot of people assimilate to other yoga. So why do you think that you thought you had to create one?
So going back a little bit, like I said, I'm certified in Kemetic yoga, which is an African Egyptian style of yoga. And that one is based on the culture of ancient Kemet. So okay. That one is based on actual research and practices from Kemet. And that is one of the, like, Egyptian style yogas are a bit more popular when it comes to Black yogis. Like, a lot of people have heard of Kemetic yoga, many more have not. But that, based on my own experience, that has been pretty much the only Black-centered yoga that I could find in terms of yoga systems. Okay. Now, when we think of yoga these days, we think mostly of doing movement. And there's, like you said, there's all kinds. There's vinyasa flow, there's restorative yoga, there's yin yoga, there's this, there's that. But a lot of the yoga that we practice currently is modernized and colonized. So okay. Even when you go back to the Indian roots of some systems of yoga, because I do honor Indian systems as well as honoring my own African roots, all right? And the yogic principles are universal. Like, India did not come up with these principles. They just made their own systems.
Okay.
And there's no reason that we can't do that now, in the same way that we had systems of enlightenment and whatnot in the past that we lost due to colonization and enslavement. So the reason I felt that there was a need for more was because we don't have that many options. There are so many options of pre-colonial Indian yoga systems that so many people haven't heard of. There's Raja Yoga, the eight limb path, Jnana Yoga, Union through Wisdom, and so many more. But again, modern colonialized yoga, all you think of is poses. And Kamili Yoga is meant to honor the holistic practice of true yoga. It's meant to be not just physical, but emotional, mental, spiritual, universal. So it honors that wholeness of who we are as humans. And then Kamili Yoga specifically, again, honors our ancestry by making it a point to truly experience yoga through, again, any African culture, whether it's present, whether it's from thousands of years ago, whether it's from the diaspora, it doesn't matter, because that for me was the limit that I found. I wanted to go beyond Kemet, and I wanted to do it through a system. So when I could not find one, I made one.
I like that. You create. Okay. So I get where you're coming from, and then I know that this is more for the blackness of it, just getting back to our natural roots. But then you have to. From my experience as a personal trainer, you find that a lot of for lack of a better term, African descendants, black people itself, are not physically active, may
Mhm.
not really experience. I don't see a lot of them in yoga. I've gone to power yoga.
Mhm.
I've been the only black girl.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sometimes I've gone to fitness places, and sometimes I've been the only black girl. So then by creating this itself, how do you, not encourage, but for lack of a better choice word, entice
Mhm.
individuals like us that look like us to try
Mhm.
that, to be open to that concept, because everybody assumes it's for. And I remember I saw your bio, it was full of other culture that did not look like you.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. You know what you're talking about. So that the thing with yoga when trying, and this is just with yoga in general, because you're right, so many of our people are not very active, um and when people look at yoga and they see what they think yoga is. So doing headstands and doing all kinds of gymnastic type moves that for a lot of people, those things aren't accessible. So when you see somebody twisting their body and balancing on one finger, and talking about this is yoga, um, understandably, a lot of people are like, yeah,
That's not for me.
that's not for me. That's not for me. So a big thing, just as a yoga educator in general, is number one, getting the message out there that that's not what yoga movement is really about, because yoga movement is about what is accessible to your body, and you don't have to work up toward any kind of grand pose. It's simply about moving and stretching, okay, allowing yourself to experience your body. And specifically in Kamili Yoga, in our sacred movement practice, is called Ibada Kamili, which is Kiswahili for the complete ritual. It does engage movement, but movement isn't the focus, is more so the expression of connection to spirit, connection to yourself. So while you do have that movement component, because there's not a pressure to keep at a certain pace or get into a certain position, people find the freedom to actually listen to their bodies and engage their bodies more deeply. And also with Kamili Yoga, our motion doesn't have to be yoga poses.
Okay.
So when you get to that point in the Ibara Kamili, in the ritual, and we come into our movement, your movement can be anything. So if you prefer to engage in African dance or belly dancing, that can be your movement for Kamili Yoga. If you like to walk, you can walk for Kamili Yoga.
Oh,
So your motion is not limited to, again, poses. Now, when I teach poses because that's what speaks to me. That's what I know. And even then, slow, free flow engagement. I teach people to listen to their body, listen to spirit. So if you feel through spirit to lift your hands up and maybe do a little back bend or just sway side to side, that's what you do. There's not um, a focused structure, and that, like I said, that gives people the freedom to really experience movement and really enjoy it as well.
I get what you're saying because it's more of a holistic look of the way you do it. With that said, a lot of people may not feel intimidated because,
Yeah.
I know I get, yeah, Eternity, I listened to you. I was listening to you. I got what you're saying. And it's more of the fact that, some people may get intimidated because they see a pose and you're like, okay, that's not for me. But what you're basically saying is like just be in the present. If you just want to move your hands up and that works for you, go with that. If you want to
Yeah.
bend, then go with that. Just find something that works with your body. And in time, your movements will get more relaxed and you can try. I got you. I
Exactly.
was listening to you.
Exactly. Yeah. And I tell people all the time, like, I'm certified in two systems and two practices. I can't do a handstand or a headstand. I still can't do a full body split, and that is okay. That is okay.
It's you.
Right. So there are things I can do, there are things I cannot do, and it does not make my yoga practice any less or any more than somebody else's.
And I think a lot of people must understand that mobility and flexibility is also based on structural alignment, structural issues.
Mhm.
There's certain things that I can't do that you can do. There's certain things I can't do. I know there's certain things there's certain things I can't take my legs off my. Never gonna happen. Fully never gonna happen.
Right.
I am not structurally built for that. There's some, the ligaments, the fascia lines, they can do all that stuff. Mine will break in pieces.
And that is okay. Like, yeah, a lot of flexibility does come from genetics. Some comes from training, but if your body cannot do that,
I don't know
then
what you try. It's not gonna
right.
happen.
And so a big part of that, like I said, in community, is taking that pressure off, taking off that irrational expectation that you have to be a certain way to engage. And once you take that away, people enjoy it so much more. And they're like, they can breathe a sigh of relief, like, oh, I can do this and I like it.
I like that. Then would you say it's safe for children and elderly to do that as well? Because what I'm hearing from you, like, I'm not going to put words in your mouth, but you feel free to tell me if it's safe for those in age groups.
Most certainly, because again, it's the freedom. It's about listening to your body. And Kamili Yoga as a system really is meant to be practiced within communities. So that also includes families. So families are greatly encouraged to practice together, to learn together. Honestly, usually children can do so much more than us adults anyway, because they're all small and limber. And
And you go limber. I remember being able to do certain
so
things.
they throw themselves up in a wheel pose or handstand just on accident, just playing around. So when it comes to the poses, sure, I would say because Kamili Yoga is so much more than that. Like, there are three tenets, and out of all of it, there's only that one part of motion that's part of the ritual. So much more of it is about going within and learning about yourself and learning how to be in community with other people and getting connected to spirit. And those are great things that can be discovered and learned about, again, as a family unit. So with children, I would say for the more philosophical part, you would need your parental or adult guidance to help you really process that. And then for the elderly, like, the, yeah, the elderly could definitely engage. And when it comes, again, going back to that physical motion, do your motion in a chair. You don't have to get on the ground.
I
Do
like
whatever
that.
is accessible for you.
And I think, some people are listening to you and you're like, okay, you know what? We might be interested. Like, how can one learn to become a Kamili Yoga practitioner or even maybe possibly take classes in the future?
Okay. So my main site is kamiliyoga.com. Kamili yoga, yoga.com.
We'll have it there. Go ahead.
Awesome. That will tell you more about the structure of the system. It'll take you to all of the different websites. So the main options for learning Kamili Yoga is one, you can check on my Eventbrite page to see if I'm having any free classes, which currently at the time of this recording, I am. There is also the Kamili Yoga student app, which just launched this month, this March. So students can sign up for the app. They will get pre-recorded lessons on the structure, on yoga pose basics, the practice of Ibada Kamili, which again is the complete ritual. There will be a total of 10 practices that rotate regularly so that you can get different experiences and different kind of flows. Because with those practices, the movement is different. So while free flow, the flow I've been talking about for the most part, where you just listen to your body, that is the primary movement of practice or primary movement of choice with Kamili Yoga. You can also do comedic movement. You can do chair supported movement. You as a person enjoy the power of power yoga. You can do that movement for your Ibada Kamili practice. That's what the freedom is. The app also will have Adinkra meditations, breathing techniques, all kinds of good information that any yogi of any level. So if you've never done yoga before, I got you. If you've been doing yoga for years, I got you.
I like
um,
that.
yeah, and all of that, if you go to the main website, you'll see ways to learn and you'll see all of those options. So I don't want to overwhelm your listeners with a whole list of websites. Just go to the one. It'll take you to all.
I think before we let you go, I want, because you seem very passionate about the whole concept of yoga and even creating one. I think just for us watching and listening to try to understand what makes you different, why are you so passionate about this, if you don't mind me asking?
Because I am not only a Black yoga educator, but a Black queer yoga educator. So I recognize the need for more spaces that honor marginalized identity. Um, Again, as a Black person, as a descendant of enslaved peoples who have lost that connection, and I'm speaking for myself. I don't know from where in Africa my people hail from. Could be West Coast, could be East Coast, could be Kemet. I don't know. But in order to just simply reconnect to all of it, that's what spurs on Kamili Yoga. That's what my passion, or that's where my passion comes from, because it's something for us, about us, to serve us. Can non-Black people practice Kamili Yoga? Certainly. You can, but recognize that it is a system for and about Black people. So if you want to learn about Black people and learn how to engage in yoga through the lens of Blackness, then more than welcome to do so. But yeah, like I said, we need more. We have comedic yoga. I am familiar with Afro flow yoga, which embraces West African dance in their practice, and we even have trap yoga. But these are
I'm sorry, hold on. No, you don't just say that.
there's trap yoga done to trap music.
Go ahead, you were saying.
There's been, like, in the past there's been like critique about, well, is that really yoga? But my thing is, anything that brings people in toward their inner self.
Okay.
Trap yoga speaks to a lot of people. It does not speak to me personally. That's not my preferred style of music, but I don't down it necessarily just because that's what makes people get into a yogic practice. Now, the thing, and this is not about trap yoga, but in general, yoga, again, for a lot of people, is just the physical. So it doesn't really matter what style of music it is. If a person is coming just for the physical, then really they're just exercising, they're having fun, and that's fine. But if you're really doing yoga, you're going to like I said, that holistic entirety of your being. And we just need more systems that honor the being of people of color. So Kamili Yoga is about Black identity. I would love to see systems that center Latin identity, Polynesian identity. Because why not?
Sure.
Why not?
Very true. I like that. And I appreciate this conversation because I was supposed to get my yoga certification. That's coming down the pipeline in the future. So just it is coming down the pipeline. But I think just having this kind of conversation with you and understanding there's different types. Like I've heard of yoga, but never looked at the aspects of the cultural part of it or the lack of representation of it. I
Mhm.
think, fair enough to say a lot of Black individuals or non like it's not something that's prevalent in our culture about yoga. Yoga is not really the
Mhm.
thing. If you tell someone like why you do yoga for, right? But it's
Correct.
nice to know that it is out there. And
Mhm.
before I let you go, I'm anything you want to say or because it was really like I'm very happy to have this conversation with you.
And I'm so honored that you've had me here and given me this space to talk more about Kamili Yoga. I wanted to get out there and just
You
this is
should.
this is my baby, I suppose. And I made
I
it. It
understand.
started with me, but I know through spirit that this is not made just for me. If I needed this, then there are plenty of people out there who need this too.
100%. And I agree with you on that. So I want to say thank you again, and wish you all the best and respects to growing this. There is a need for it. I just think right now not a lot of people know about it, and I'm glad to be part of that and message to get it out there for you.
Thank you.
We're glad to have you join us. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a comment, share with anyone that needs to be empowered and inspired, and don't forget to join us next week for the next episode of Health Your Way podcast. Have a good day, you guys.